long gone to that we will be discussing our past and now is that be all
I have a personal issue. Thanks, Dan. I really struggle to talk about this because I think I described it earlier to Dan as a type of hidden world in the disability experience. And what we're talking about here is personal care assistance, a level of assistance with what healthcare practitioners often refer to as activities of daily living. A lot of people with disabilities, not all of them, but a lot of them rely on assistance with those ADLs. And we're talking about assistance using the bathroom, assistance with grooming, assistance with getting dressed and undressed, assistance with getting in and out of bed, assistance with preparing meals. When people often think about disability, they have some idea that there is a level of dependence. But I don't think that there's a true understanding of what that entails. It's a whole other way of living, and that's why I refer to it as a secret world. Let's think about disability in terms of a spectrum. In this hidden world of personal care, on the one end, there is little to no personal care needed, meaning that if no one showed up in a 24-hour period, they would have access to food, they would be able to maintain their hygiene, they would be able to get adequate rest. And then in the middle, there is some intervention or reliance upon another. Perhaps they could use a restroom on their own, they can shower on their own, but doing chores around the house can be very burdensome and difficult and time-consuming. And then you have, on the far end, people that if they didn't have anyone coming to see them and to assist them in a 24-hour period or less, they would be at risk of essentially dying. It's a little bit extreme, but if you think about it, I don't think people get that there is a spectrum and that there is a level of dependency. That if that person or a group of people don't show up, this person is in a life and death type situation. Thankfully, I have been very fortunate to never be in a situation where no one has showed up for 24 hours. Again, I say I'm very fortunate. However, I think we both have known people who haven't been as fortunate. I've thought about this very deeply, and I think it's fundamentally having to do with our culture. And our culture is very uncomfortable with being dependent on other people directly. Newsflash, we're all dependent. We rely on people and groups of people. You get some idea of what it's like for Dan to be married to me. Hey Dan, let's talk about the interdependence of life and society. It's fun, right, Dan?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, we have an extreme devotion to independence. It's a part of our, our history. It's a huge element to our culture. We love stories of people who can pull themselves up by their bootstraps and make it happen on their own without giving much credit or acknowledgement of all the people and groups around them to help make whatever it was that they've accomplished happen. We're uncomfortable. I've really sensed this. We're uncomfortable with the idea of providing care and even to some degree receiving that care.
I am now saying right. I at I'm finding hard to accept help.
I think it's very common. I think it's a very common thing for people to feel resistant or uncomfortable. I too, I also feel discomfort with the idea of relying on other people for my most basic essential needs. But I think it's also having to do with the hesitation or this subconscious discomfort as well from the people providing the care. There is fundamentally a power dynamic that exists when you're in a situation or relationship where you are receiving care and extremely dependent upon another, and them having this physical one-up on you. Absolutely. I wouldn't say it was a complex. I have met wonderful people through my experiences with hiring personal care assistants. Really wonderful people. But I've also met people who would make jokes about this power dynamic. And I do feel it's unconscious. I feel like they're not aware of the harm that comes from that. So for example, I remember one time I was laying in the bed and there was a transfer that needed to be done, and we were joking about something. And she said jokingly, in a joking tone, but still it was said, "If you keep that up, I'll leave you there on the bed." And I thought to myself, yes, you're reminding me of the power dynamic. So people who, on that far end of the spectrum, were particularly vulnerable to this power dynamic. You fall more in the middle of the spectrum, that if the people didn't come within a 24-hour period, you wouldn't die. It's very resourceful. You'll figure it out. You would go out, and where would you go, Dan? Likely, where would your spot of getting your water and food? Never mind water. He wouldn't go for water. What would you get? Where would you go, Dan?
The tavern.
Yeah, and I mean, he would be able to have access to food and liquids. He probably wouldn't get water. Have you ever heard people making a comment where they'll say, "Oh, good, you can help yourself in the bathroom? Oh, good job." Or somebody might say, oh, good, you can stand on your own? Oh, awesome. They don't mean any harm by that statement. But there's this underlying message, and the message is, you have more value. You're easier to deal with in this world because you're more like us. You have more of the physical capabilities that I have, and my job is made easier because of it. I want to try to get this really well said. A person's value is established once they've existed. And it remains constant. Simply existing is enough. You're valuable because you exist. Everyone.
I'm very well said.
Okay, that's enough for me. Alright.
Until next time.
Keep it against you guys. Thank
And ciao.
you. Thank you so much for watching another episode of the Ginchiest, where we talk about our disability experiences and what they teach us about being human.
Subscribe. I dare you.
Oh my god, you ruined it.